it's really great for digestion. We'll talk about it more. What's that?
Ginger.
Yeah, particularly great for the stomach. Warms the digestion, improves the digestion of all other foods. Okay? It improves gastric secretions. Okay? And it transforms phlegm and warms the lungs. It's also one of those spices that brings heat to the surface of the skin and works very well for arthritic conditions. So it both causes diaphoresis or sweating, but it also warms the limbs. Well, I shouldn't say that. It warms the joints. That's a better word. Yeah.
So if you're stir frying with ginger, a lot of times you don't eat the ginger itself. Is that
It still gets the properties, absolutely, of the ginger. Yes, absolutely. Right. So you can cook the ginger, stir frying in, cooking it in a soup, you know, grating it on top, making a tea out of it. I mean, there's lots of ways. It absolutely works. Okay. Another spice that I really like is cinnamon. And I want to mention it now because it's kind of a contrast to ginger. Ginger warms the interior of the body, especially the digestion and the lungs. Cinnamon, on the other hand, does almost the opposite. It warms the extremities all the way out to the tips. So for people with cold hands and feet, skip the ginger, go to the cinnamon. It works so much better. And in fact, what I tell people who have really extreme cold hands and feet is to take as much cinnamon as they can tolerate, like a quarter teaspoon or so or more, with a little bit of wine. Tiny bit of wine. Why do you think? It gets right into the blood. It does. I mean, it really does. If you're really, really, really cold, a little bit of wine and cinnamon, you'll be warm.
You can warm up
And
the wine.
it doesn't take very much. Very little.
Some people warm up the wine.
Absolutely. It's wonderful. Wonderful.
in the wine?
Yeah.
In your wine glass?
Yeah. I mean, a quarter teaspoon is a lot of cinnamon. It's not going to taste yummy. Okay? I mean, you can sprinkle cinnamon on, yeah, but a quarter teaspoon is, you know, it's not going to taste good. So you kind of have to swallow it and then gulp a little wine down.
But also have people mixing it with like an oil and actually putting it on the skin.
Absolutely.
Like diluting it.
I'd be careful, like you might burn the person.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
no, I mean, obviously.
But I mean, be
discretion,
aware,
but-
it is that warming.
Right, like
Yeah.
you could put it like, people have said to put it, because I was down cold hands and feet, to like put it in like a, whatever it was, might have boba.
Yeah.
And then put the socks on over
Right.
and really.
Might be a little bit staining. Yeah.
A little pair of socks.
Yeah, I'd be aware of that, you know, don't just put
It's
your feet
worth
in the
not
bed and
having
then go,
cold
oh, I ruined my sheet. Yeah, exactly, right. No, I think that's good, but I think it'll work even better internally because it goes into your bloodstream, it actually will. And that's what, you know, that's why your hands and feet are cold. They're not getting enough circulation. So cinnamon will help to open that circulation.
Isn't there a certain type of massage that people do? It's called like the rainbow massage or something of that sort. It's with oregano, with all different spices.
How fun.
Raindrop therapy.
Raindrop. Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, fun.
Raindrop therapy was more aromatherapy. I've never heard of that. It sounds more like Ayurveda, but well, in Ayurveda they actually do use that, and in Chinese medicine some liniments and oils have cinnamon and clove in them. Yeah, and they smell well. Yeah.
So I know of a child that loves spicy food but has nosebleeds all the time. Would you say
They're a
that's
hot
too
kid.
much?
Absolutely. So if they have nosebleeds, if they bleed anywhere, anybody who bleeds in places where they're not supposed to bleed is too hot. And in that case, they have too much heat in the upper body, which is yang already. So yeah, too much yang, too much heat. So they need more yin foods, less Okay. Did I want to say anything else about that? We'll get back to those foods anyway. All right. Salty taste. What did I want to go into? Salty taste. Remember general uses. Where is it? I lost it already. Oh, softens lumps, softens hardened lymph glands, cataracts, constipation, abdominal swelling and pain, and counteracts toxins in the body. And remember, of course, the salty taste is what? Not just sodium, but mineral salt. Yes. Yes. Expand that into a much broader category of medicinal substances. Okay. And those who are most benefited, well, okay, we talked about the salty foods, salt, of course, seaweeds, kelp, kombu, all those bladderactals, but also some of the grains, barley, millet, which are both sweet and salty. And then all the products that are made with salt or soy sauce, and pickled items, which are not just salty, but salty and sour. Okay. And those who are most benefited from the salty taste are thin, dry, nervous types of people. I think the best example I can give you for that is not the salt so much as another couple of minerals. Any ideas? Magnesium, calcium. Yeah, calcium, magnesium. In fact, I think when you think of salty taste, think of rocks. Just rocks. Any kind of rock that we might put into our body. Okay?
So these kind of people who actually lack those minerals,
Excuse me?
when you say the people that most benefit of your thing by minerals, does it mean that those minerals are very low in the body? Or?
You may find that to be true, and that may not happen. Sometimes people need them. Because I think what you have to remember is when you take a lab test for a person, it's based on an average. And they may be perfectly normal, but they may still exhibit all the signs that show that they need that substance. And when they take that substance, they feel better. And their values may not change at all. Okay? So that's why lab tests are useful, but their range is sometimes so broad that we may fall perfectly well within them and still have chronic symptoms. And in fact, where we live here as nutrition people, as holistic health practitioners, as massage therapists, as acupuncturists, alternative medicine, we're going to see all of those people whose lab tests may be perfectly normal, and yet they come to you because they have a problem. Okay? So that's a pretty good example of that. Their labs may show that they are low in magnesium, and they may not.
So how would you prescribe them the supplement, for example? Or would you
Based
use
on their
something-
symptoms.
But let's say you want to give someone calcium. You're going to start very low dose and see how they react?
Well, you can prescribe calcium based on, what the average over-the-counter dosage would be. That would be perfectly fine. Same for magnesium. There aren't very many things, from what we're going to do that are crazy dangerous, so I wouldn't worry about that. Just use whatever the standard daily values are for that.
If you supply, like, for some reason, I can tell from personal experience, for some people, those huge
Right, too high.
Yes,
of
they're way
course.
too high.
Right. So you have to make adjustments.
Yeah.
And you're going to find that's going to be true. There are going to be patients who are super sensitive to herbs, to nutritional supplements, anything, and so you have to use your best judgment.
Now, in a case like that, why would you jump? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Somebody else?
Yeah, well, I had a comment. I personally think too many people in this country are too hung up on numbers and values of like medical things where people are not really using their intuition or listening to their bodies or really looking at the symptoms. They're looking at what is supposed to be or what a textbook is telling them,
Right.
and they're completely ignoring what's really going on.
Right. Right. Well, and we're not textbooks. We're not. I mean, they're averages, and yes, that might be helpful, and in many cases it's helpful. Most people can exist within those parameters. But, we all can tell you that there are plenty of people who fall within those parameters, still feel sick. And then there are other people who, don't have normal values, and they feel perfectly fine. But you have to consider that, those values are based on what an average person, for a long time it was an average man, an average 200-pound man. We're getting better at figuring out that the needs of a man are different from a 90-pound woman.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, hello. So we're getting better at that at least. But, we have to look at who we're treating and make the adjustments.
Yeah, I was going to say, an approach might be using the food too. Adding kale, 2 cups of kale daily to the diet, because the calcium in that is like 1,500.
Right.
And there's so much controversy over supplements in the beginning.
You're bringing up a really, 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 really important point. And that is, okay, we are now talking about food. All right, we kind of diverged here and talked a little bit about, how much calcium and magnesium do you give someone out of a bottle off a shelf that they bought at Trader Joe's versus, the health food store or from a practitioner or from their doctor. Okay, we're not really talking about that. What we're talking about is getting these all this nutrition from food. Okay? And there are very, very few people who are going to be over-medicated by your food choices. Okay? I can't think of any off the top of my head. There probably are some bizarre cases out there. Well, I can talk of one being kale and all of the green foods. There are some categories of people who cannot eat them. Okay, people who have had very bad heart disease problems, and they are now using Coumadin or heparin or some other blood thinner. And all of those green foods are going to raise their vitamin K levels noticeably, and their doctor is going to say, what are you doing in the next week? Okay? All right? Because they cannot have high levels of vitamin K. In any other case, I could pretty much say the food supplements or the food nutritional plan that we can do for these people are not going to put them into a medical crisis of any kind. All right? Yeah.
What about if they had been eating those green things to begin with, they would never have gone to that doctor.
Well, that's what I believe.
So,
but I think that that's probably not always true. There are people who are still going to have heart disease by the time they're 90. I mean, I'm going to say this right now. We are not going to live forever. I don't care what you eat. Okay? I'm sorry. So, you can eat kale every day. You will still probably die by the time you're at least 150. That's good. I'm being generous. Okay? So let's be clear about that.
But, I think the critical thing is that the food that we eat today
Yes.
is not the food that
Yes.
the Chinese medicine is talking about from hundreds
Well,
of years ago.
but the principles are the same.
But the
Yes.
nutritional
The vitality, I
value,
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. The vitality of the food has changed. Absolutely. Absolutely. But the principles are the same. And we still want to bring people back into balance by choosing a wider variety of foods of the 5 elements and then keeping them in balance yin and yang. But yeah, I completely agree. And we're different. We live in a different environment. We live in, different stressful circumstances. Everything is different in that way. But the principles still are completely sound. Okay. Did you want to add something? Okay. All right. Let's move on. The sour taste. Principles are yin and cooling, contracting. Remember, like a lemon. Okay? Gathering and absorbing astringent. Prevents leakage of fluids and energy. I think this is really important. It does actually prevent leakage of fluid and energy. So for people who are just, what? They're just totally frazzed out, okay? The taste they need is the sour taste. A little bit of sour. So when you come home from this class and you're just like, oh my God, she drives me crazy. Your hair's like standing on end and you're just flipping out. A little bit of vinegar. Just a little bit to calm and assert and just bring your aura like right back into your body. You get that? Lemon. Lemon and water. Absolutely. Same thing. Yeah. No, I'm talking about really weird things. I'm talking about bringing your aura back in. But that's what I mean by that.